Hi, I'm Maggie. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist. I have degrees in psychology, theology, and marriage and family therapy, and a national certification in dialectical behavioral therapy. In this video, I'm not seeking to diagnose anyone. I'm only willing to offer insight into situations like these. Happy Sunday, everybody. What do you think of the new intro? I'm so happy with it. It's so cute. It was so much fun to make. It's so cute. I hope everybody's having a good Sunday. Let's say hi to some folks in the room. Adric is first. Hopefully that means it's going to be a good show, right? Hi, Adric. Thanks for being here. Hi, Nina. Thank you for being here. She also says Inigo. That was the song, by the way. All right, Charles Faulkner is in here. Woo! Hi, Cutting Up with the Joneses. Thanks for being here. Hey, Chef Mike. Thank you for being in here. Hi, Adrian. Thank you for being here. Adric says dancing Maggie Thompson under the veil. It's cute, right? It's cute. Hi, Nick Morrison. Thank you for being here. He's reminding everybody to hit the like button, as you're coming in. Adrian loves the new intro, of course. All right, so today we're going to talk about when people call you toxic or low vibration. Okay, lots of info here, lots and lots and lots. Put in the chat if anybody has ever called you toxic or low vibrational. Because we're going to talk about what that really means. I was going to say I love, and I, kind of do, when somebody weaponizes a psychological concept, a mental health concept, a metaphysical concept, and hurls at people, right? Like just weaponizes it, hurls it at people. And, there's some part of me that loves coming in behind them and explaining actually the concept and giving people something that they can say back. Because a lot of times that's why things are weaponized, because it's a concept that maybe not everybody's heard of, or they don't have a clear understanding of. Because second to that, I love taking things that are presented in a really esoteric, I know everything kind of way, and then being like, no, it's actually like this. Because, I have to visualize things to have a concept, right? So whenever I'm learning something new, as long as I can visualize it, I can explain what it actually is, right? So nothing has to be outside of our reach, or nothing has to be hurled at us and we just take it because we're not sure what we're supposed to say back. Adrian says, I have been. It's always cause for eye rolling. Right. We're going to talk mostly about vibration, because calling someone toxic is actually a really simple concept. Okay. All right. So I have some visuals. The unfortunate thing is I have to show it like this for me to be able to do it both ways. So I can't show it like full screen, so you guys can see all of the slides as they're coming up, but I think it's just fine. Okay, so let me make sure I can get to the next slides. Okay, so calling someone toxic or low vibration, right, it's actually not always a bad thing per se. Yeah, well, I'll say per se. It's not always a bad thing. We might come to a little bit of a different idea towards the end, right? But saying that something or someone is toxic or that it's low vibration doesn't inherently have a judgment in it. Again, that's what weaponizing means. It means like throwing it at someone as like a type of name calling. Okay. So if something is toxic or low vibrational, like that's okay. If we call poison toxic, again, like that's fine, right? So mental health awareness, right? It's becoming people are more aware about mental health, let's say, and there's been a lot of work towards kind of combating the stigma around mental health. Now I have my personal opinions about whether they're going about it the right way. I'm more about let's train all the therapists about um, like systemic racism and like the racism that was prevalent in the creation of psychoanalytics and those kind of things, that there's a reason for the stigma instead of like marketing ourselves. So, anyway, mental health awareness gave us access to like new words that maybe we didn't use before, labels for like unwanted behavior or symptomology, and kind of in an attempt to set boundaries, right? Like if you can put words to something, if you can understand the concept, if you know yourself a little better, you can set boundaries and kind of have a more positive mindset. Okay. Social media was part of this. It's influenced and really popularized a lot of mental health language, but also a lot of metaphysical language. The difficulty with it being popularized on social media is that there are people who are using the words who only have maybe a baseline understanding of the concept or just a little bit shallow. I'm not saying that everybody needs to be a psychologist to use these words, but know what you're saying, right? Know what you're saying when you're saying this to other people, right? So it's all around this like personal growth terminology. So I mean it's reaching a wider audience, which is a good thing, right? And there's been an increase in kind of new age, but also ancient spiritual practices, which I put all of that under metaphysics, which by the way, so is philosophy. All philosophers called themselves metaphysicians. Okay. So when you hear the word metaphysics and you're like, oh, that's that woo woo stuff, understand that's yet another word that has been kind of stolen, morphed, and rebranded when that's not what it is. Okay. So here's the problems. Okay. I need to pay attention to, my cute little visual aids. Again, I have to visualize stuff, right? So I got to have visual aids, right? So here's the problems. Hi, Louis Conyer. Thank you for being in here. That's not the problem. Okay. So there are problems, right? Like there's a few good things we can kind of take out of it. But the problem is that using these terms really, like I said, a shallow level, it really oversimplifies complex issues. Like how so many people think that they're autistic now. They call it touch of autism. Um, and it is on a, there are high levels and low levels, I would say, but um, it's that really oversimplifies a very, very complex issue, right? So that's a problem. It's like too quick of a way to communicate a feeling or a perception, like, oh, that's toxic. Okay. It's dismissive of any context of the topic, right? It's more like if it's something I don't want to hear, something I don't want to listen to, something that goes against my opinion, um, something that maybe I should know, but I'm too lazy to do it. um, then because it causes some sort of physical discomfort or some sort of negative feeling, we're like, oh, that's toxic. Oh, that's low vibrational. So it's just dismissing having the conversation, right? Now, think back to when I just said philosophers called themselves metaphysicians, right? And metaphysics is this overarching thing that includes this kind of terminology, right? So, how could you say you are into metaphysics, but you won't sit and have a conversation the way that philosophers have done throughout the years, right? Philosophers will debate for fun and no feelings involved, right? They'll just, one of them will throw out a premise and they'll, they'll take it amongst themselves to either prove or disprove it. They'll be like, okay, premise is God is water. Now let's prove it true. And then they would have this wonderful conversation. Think about the conversations that we have on, especially on social media now. I have to tell people, if I tell you that I love dogs, do not ask me why I hate cats, right? There's so many fallacies. I just learned a new one the other day and I thought I knew them all. And I don't know them like the back of my hand, but it was, I think it's called tukoke, the fallacy of hypocrisy, which is like somebody is critiquing what another person has done, a politician or a celebrity or anything like that. And then somebody comes in and says, well, what have you done? That is the fallacy of hypocrisy. That's trying to make it seem like you're a hypocrite to invalidate the critique you have of the person you're critiquing, right? It is a logical fallacy. So if that happens to you guys, please use that. I'm pretty sure it's called tukoke. It's like Quoque, Tuquoque, something like that. But it's the fallacy of hypocrisy. Okay. So see how I get on these side notes? I'm sorry, guys. Okay. Okay. So saying somebody is toxic or low vibration can be weaponized for like a variety of reasons, right? It's to label a person, to change other people's perception of them, or like isolate them. Like going around telling people that person's toxic, that person's low vibration, that person's toxic, and then other people don't want to be around them. So it is a way to sort of team build against somebody else. It deflects away from that person's own negative behavior, right? It's like this shifting blame, avoiding responsibility. Like, I smacked somebody in the face, I was having a bad day, we're arguing, I smacked them in the face. And then I'm like, I wouldn't do that if you weren't so toxic. If you weren't so low vibrational, I wouldn't have to hit you, right? It's that deflecting, shifting blame. Like, we're supposed to hate blaming the victim. You know what I mean? But it is a way to blame the victim and avoid our own responsibility for our, oh, thank you, Chef Mike. Tuquoque. Oh, I forgot the first U. Tukoke. Yeah. So use that, guys. If that ever happens to you, use that. Okay. Love empowering you guys. It's so fun. Okay. So another reason somebody might weaponize those terms is to like elevate their own status, right? Like, if I call somebody low vibrational, then inherently that means two things. One, I'm high vibrational, and two, I can analyze and evaluate someone else and determine them to be low vibrational, meaning that they are beneath me. Now, if you know anything about metaphysics, there is no above below, the hierarchies are not there. Like that's not how it works. But when we weaponize it, we are taking on this spiritual superiority. Okay. Another reason why, avoiding constructive communication or conflict resolution, or venting or talking shit, mess, sorry. Um, so if somebody is like, constructive criticism, right? They're giving you advice. Maybe you are having an argument, right? So the way to avoid that is to just weaponize those terms. Why are you talking to me about this? That's low vibrational. You can't talk to me about that. I am surrounding myself with love and light and peace. You can't talk to me about that. You're bringing my vibration down, right? But maybe it's a conversation that needs to be had, right? A way of justifying their own poor behavior toward that person, kind of that avoiding responsibility. It's a shaming technique for sure, right? But that has to do with elevation of status, right? I'm above you. If you're low vibrational, then, you're below me. And, it's one of those things where it's like, if somebody called me low vibrational and I'm like, no, I'm not, and they said, prove it, you know what I mean? Like, they can't prove it, you know? I call somebody low vibrational and they're like, prove it. And all I can talk about is their behavior and the way it makes me feel, right? So you can't prove it. It's just a shaming technique. All right. Oh, Chef Mike says no big I's and no little U's. I like that. Okay, Nina says true metaphysics would never weaponize anything. Yes. Yes. And Nina is one of my like personal teachers about metaphysics. She was around and involved when, in the 80s when it was becoming such a big, well, it started in the 70s, but really took off in the 80s, teaching people about metaphysics and philosophies again, because it kind of died off. It's almost like we were a bit asleep and we didn't want to think, right? Because philosophy means you gotta think and it's hard, right? Until you learn the philosophies and you're like, oh yeah, it's just like a teeter-totter, or something simple. Adrian says, good point, Maggie. I'm always left wondering who made this person the arbiter of vibrations. Right, right. So number one thing to say, if somebody says you're low vibrational, you can say, prove it. Okay. And then I'm going to show you how you actually measure vibrations. So, and then when they're like, well, there's no way to measure it, you'll be like, well, these two ways. And you'll know. Oh, God. Nina says Reaganomics. Yeah. It was sort of a backlash against that kind of that sort of movement throughout the country. Chef Mike says no one is taught how to think anymore. We confuse mental activity with thinking all the time. Yeah. So, Chef Mike, here's what I'm gonna say, and I'm a lot more open about this on the Patreon, but there's a reason why we're not taught to think. In 1903, the first federal school board was created to kind of get some standardization going on. The person who was the first president of the United States School Board was Rockefeller. And one of his most famous quotes is, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. And so he was the one who came up with standardized education, standardized testing. And his goal, which he completed, was to implement this standardization that is approved from kindergarten all the way through like a PhD or an MD. And so it's all standardized. But him saying, I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers, kind of tells you what kids are taught. Yeah. Yeah. Chef Mike knew exactly what I was talking about. Yep. Okay. So what does it actually mean? Right? What does vibrational actually mean? Okay, so let's look at New Age spirituality, right? And what does that actually mean? What is that? Oh my, I was like, what is this banner that's over here? But it's hey Maggie, your Mac doesn't come with PowerPoint. Okay, New Age, right? Spirituality, which falls under the umbrella of metaphysics. Metaphysics, they are not the same thing. Metaphysics is an overarching heading. Okay. So in this spirituality, high vibrational correlates to positive energy or positive feelings, and low vibrational correlates to destructive energy, which is why low vibrational and toxic, when people are saying things, they kind of go together because it's this perception of destruction. Okay. Um, so things that are high vibrational, right? Positive emotions, love, joy, gratitude, healthy, supportive, nurturing relationships, spiritual development through like mindfulness, not mindlessness, mindfulness and meditation, acts of kindness, eating healthy, natural foods, physical activity, um, living in your true purpose. Now, this is another one. So we're going to take just a slight detour. It's planned. This is not me, turning left, but because this is another phrase that's thrown around, like you got to live in your true purpose. And people are like, the first time I thought that I was 11 and it kept me up all night one night, like, what's the meaning of life? Why am I here? Blah, blah, blah. You guys all remember that like peri-adolescent existential dread kind of moment when you were trying to figure out like, what's the meaning of life and what's my purpose and all that. And then, then you get out in real life and it's like, well, obviously my purpose is to work until I die. And then eventually you're like, I don't want to do that either. All right. So, what is living in your purpose? It's aligning your actions, like your lifestyle, with your core values. So, like figuring out what you value, what you think is not what society has told you is valuable, right? I mean, I guess I'm not going to tell anybody you can't value money. But like that's a social construct. You know what I mean? When it talks about values, it's like as a human, what do you think is important? You know what I mean? So living in your purpose is aligning your actions and your lifestyle with your core values, or what you believe you're meant to do in life. Was I meant to be a singer? Was I meant to be a dancer, an artist? An accountant, you know, kind of lining up things together. When you're living in your purpose, you're driven by the things that matter to you, not the things you have to do. Makes sense? Hopefully that makes sense. It's what matters. It's like you're probably not going to be a workaholic unless you are super duper lucky and your job aligns with what you're meant to do in life. Then you might be a little more driven by that. But it's more of a, I go to work and I do a really good job so I can keep my job. And for me, so I can help, people, it does align with what matters to me. And, there's good benefits and I get a paycheck and I can pay bills and, all the things I have to do. But outside of work is where I really do and live in what matters to me. You contribute to that alignment of your actions to your values in an authentic way. And if you guys have ever heard me before, and replay gang, you have to, I'm always promoting being authentic, right? Because being fake, there's nothing but make you feel bad. Okay. So that was my side note of living in your purpose. What does that mean? Right? It's just aligning your life with what you want. So I said, gosh, was it Wednesday or Sunday? I don't remember which one, but the biggest battle that we have internally is between the life we're living and the life we're avoiding. So living in your purpose is really aligning your life with that life that you're scared of, the one you're avoiding for some reason or another, but it's the one you really want or the one you're supposed to have. So that's what that means. All right, low vibration is negative emotions, right? Anger, fear, jealousy. And again, these are perceptions, okay? Because you know me, I'm all about all feelings are valid. But um, relationships that are full of manipulation and abuse and secrecy and all that kind of stuff. Um, Self-harm, like abusing yourself, being violent towards yourself, self-sabotaging, substance use, all that kind of stuff, neglecting yourself, having poor nutrition, being sedentary or inactive, and really disconnecting from life's purpose, like not even thinking about what you want, what you value, how to grow, what you want to learn, how you want to be, who do you want around you. Just get up, work, come home, right? All of that seems a bit judgy to me, which, I don't totally throw away new age spirituality, but it is all ideas, right? Nobody went through and measured um, the frequency of a healthy, supportive, nurturing relationship, right? So it's speculative. So it seems judgy. Feelings are neither good nor bad. They're information. If you're angry, it doesn't necessarily mean you have a negative emotion and you are low vibrating, right? Um, there are many, many, many stories all the way back to antiquity where deities, right? Gods of love, Krishna, Jesus, like who got angry, right? And we would never call them low vibration. You know what I mean? Emotions are just information. That's all it is. Um, so most of these things have reasons behind them and may just be part of a person's journey. You know what I mean? Like if somebody did something to me and then I'm angry, then I'm supposed to feel bad that I'm low vibration. Like that again seems judgy. And it's that kind of elevating your status again, right? Like, well, I'm high vibrational and all I ever feel is love, joy, and gratitude. And I have a super supportive, healthy relationship. And I practice meditation every day and I'm kind to people. And I eat, twigs and berries and I exercise and I'm living in my, like, bitch, shut up. Most of us have like a real life with real problems. You know what I mean? It takes a little bit of privilege, I would think, to have such a perfect high vibrational life. And to me, it takes away your humanity. But you know me, I'm all about the shadow, right? Like you have to integrate your shadow. You have to integrate your anti-villain, or anti-hero. You have to know your dark and light and not view one as better or worse than the other. Balance. Life is about balance. Okay. Um, and again, it's oversimplifying, which is it can be so annoying because then it's easily weaponized, you know, when when things are oversimplified, right? Well, the wrong button. Okay, so hmm, let me pull this back up. Okay, that's better. Okay. Um, Adrian Hicks says, I seem to get called low vibrational by people who are always in the middle of some drama with someone else. Yeah. I mean, you think it might be a way to avoid accountability, right? Especially if you come in and you're able to corroborate what's going on or say, give constructive criticism or things like that, then the way to be dismissive of you or what you're saying is to just call you low vibrational. Or you make them feel some kind of way that they have to think about it or maybe consider something that they didn't want to, but it's all avoidance, right? Um, all right, so the concerns about it, right? There are things that we're exposed to that do cause us to vibrate at a high rate, right? Because on a quantum level, everything is in motion. Even the most solid of metal, when we microscope down and 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 down, it's just little protons and photons and quarks all just sort of vibrating close to each other. The harder something is, the lower it's vibrating, right? The the softer or more liquid something is, the higher it's vibrating, right? Like everything's just buzzing and so it moves and morphs easily, right? So water vibrates higher than steel, okay? We as humans, we vibrate as well. We have a frequency. Okay, that is frequency. Everything has a frequency. Some things put out frequencies, some things receive frequencies, some things do both. And as humans, we can be influenced by frequency and we also put out frequencies, right? It's energy, just energy. Okay. Now, in our daily lives, there are things that we're exposed to which affect us and cause us to vibrate at a high rate. And guess what? It's not meditation and fresh baby spinach. Okay. It is Wi Fi routers, microwave ovens, smartphones, computers, all the things that they're like, it's not so healthy to be around these things and be exposed to it. And we all need to wear like blue blockers on our eyes because it's bad for us, blah, 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 blah. It's because for those specific frequencies, the frequency that they're vibrating at is called radiation, right? Which is also in that red sphere of visible light, right? So if you were there for the demon face syndrome, think about that. So these things are aversive to us, right? Radiation makes us sick. It is not healthy, right? So that sort of takes away the judginess of, well, I'm high vibrational. Well, somebody receiving radiation therapy for breast cancer is high vibrational because they're being irradiated. You know what I mean? So we have to take away this, I'm high vibrational, so I'm better than you and you're low vibrational and toxic. Okay? That specifically high vibrational isn't always good. Okay? I mean, radiation can also cause like neurological effects, sleep disturbances, tissue damage. You know what I mean? So being actually high vibrational, not so good. Okay. In that way. Okay. So that's essentially what I'm saying, to be very clear, because I'm going to go from the other direction later. Letting external things that are vibrating really high influence you like taking it in from the external to the internal, right? Like being close enough to it or using it all day or having it right next to you, not having any sort of EMF protection on your electronics, those kind of things, you're allowing that frequency into your body and it's called radiation. Okay. So it doesn't affect you well. Okay. All right. So is it all BS? No, but there's a few kind of important details, okay? Um, to have a positive effect, the energy, the frequency, or the vibration has to originate internally, okay? Again, when we expose ourselves to things that are very high vibrational and putting out a lot of energy, it is not healthy. If it comes internally, then we are creating that energy and it's flowing out of us. Okay. Um, our thoughts, our emotions, our health create a vibration or an energy output. Now, this may be the first time you're hearing this and it sounds kind of woo woo and weird, but science has proved this over and over and over and over and over. There's actually studies that I find very interesting where if multiple people come together and pray, it actually exponentially increases the energy output of those people. And so the frequency field is much, much, much bigger than if we just added all those people together. So that's kind of cool. Um, Bioelectric magnetics, right? That's the study of the energy output of biological organisms. They use electrophysiology, okay, to measure the frequency, the energy output, the waves of energy that come off people. And it's super interesting stuff. So, for an example, a healthy human vibrates, has the frequency of 62 to 78 megahertz. So that's like just, your standard operating person is they in themselves, just being human, is 62 to 78 megahertz. Okay. Now, again, what happens if you force it to vibrate way higher? Probably not very healthy. All right. Secondly, we can be negatively affected by either end of the vibration scale outside of ourselves. Okay. So we already talked about too high is radiation. But also, if it doesn't get to the level of radiation, right, there's not that much energy output, those same high vibrations can cause anxiety. They can increase our stress, which increases our cortisol levels, which puts us at risk of heart disease and stroke, right? And to a certain extent, diabetes as well, right? So that's not. Oh, Nina says shungite will help block the negative energy coming off of your electronics. Oh, that's pretty cool. I have EMF blockers, right? Just because I'm kind of sensitive to that. And so my anxiety will go way up if there's a lot of electronics going on. So there's some good advice. All right. So if the vibration is too low, right, then it can create hearing issues, can affect your ears. Um, it can cause annoyances and anger issues. It can cause sleep disorders, cardiovascular disease. Now, think about people who live really close to like electrical transformers, or like a lot of electrical lines go through their neighborhood, or maybe the subway goes through their neighborhood. All of those things have a very low vibrational frequency and quality. And then think about what it does to those people: hearing issues, annoyances, anger, sleep disorders, cardiovascular disease, right? All right. So, thirdly, we can be positively affected by people and items that help us raise our frequency in incremental ways. Okay. So say I'm getting kind of sick. And so my vibration is getting closer to that bottom level, that 62 megahertz, meaning I don't have a lot of what's kinetic energy. I don't have a lot of motivation. I'm feeling sluggish. I don't have energy to utilize. Somebody helping me to maybe be in a better mood, get some stuff done, clean up, or bring me chicken soup or things like that that help me to raise my frequency. We can be positively influenced that way, but it has to be like incremental and what we want and not done in a healthy way or an unhealthy way. Um, and frequencies can treat health conditions within the body. So the woman's name is going to escape me. So if somebody knows it, please put it in the chat. But um, there is a woman, African American woman, she's a Black woman, who discovered using frequencies to cure cancer. So of course that's very suppressed because there's no big pharma involved, right? There's no medication, there's no any of this stuff. Like it's a frequency wand, right? So instead of radiation kind of poisoning the whole body to try to poison the tumor, frequency is a specific frequency for each type of tumor, and it sort of just busts it up. But from antiquity until the advent of Western medicine, still used in Eastern medicine, frequencies are used to treat health conditions, mental conditions. Think about like if people have singing bowls or sound baths. I have a good example okay. Think about when you're in a bad mood and you can listen to certain songs that pick you up and make you happy. That's using sound frequency in a positive way, something external that can incrementally raise that vibration, right? And that's something that we just sort of almost inherently know to do. Or there's a certain song that's going to make you cry every time you hear it. You could be just laughing and the song comes on and you're going to cry because it has emotion attached to it. It reminds you of things. Okay. All right. Hi, Ian Graves. Thank you for being here. Hi, Prince Mugo. Thank you for being here. Okay. There's a whole body of evidence showing that frequencies, can treat health conditions. So look them up. And if one of you guys find that lady's name, please, that doctor's name, who treated cancer and has been successful with frequency, please share it in the chat. Okay. Let's talk about how do we measure it, right? Our actual vibrations. So the first one is the SPANE scale, which I guess I shouldn't call it the SPANE scale because SPANE is scale of positive and negative experience. Okay. So I wouldn't call it a scale. Anyway, the SPANE. It measures the frequency of positive and negative emotions, or what we perceive to feel negative. Okay. When I say it measures, I mean that they are literally through biomagnetic electronics measuring the frequency output of the person with each emotional state. Okay. Super interesting. But this is a way, right, to measure our vibrational. Are we low vibrational? Are we high vibrational? Whatever. When I say positive or negative emotions, it's more like, is it pleasant or unpleasant? Okay. So our emotions emit a frequency that affects ourselves and those around us. Like, if you've ever said the vibe is off or your vibe changed or, those kind of things, something feels wrong, something feels off, that's literally what's happening. You're feeling the energy that they're putting out. Adric, thank you so much. Dr. Hadia Nicole Green. Dr. Hadia Nicole Green. Perfect. Perfect. So you guys check her out. Charles Faulkner. Woo! Okay. So the research, interestingly enough, there is not a significant difference between men and women. Okay, so those people who are like, men are more angry or their anger is more sinister or whatever, or, women feel sadness more, or all that gender junk. And by the way, this study has been replicated. The SPANE has been validated numerous times. There is not a significant difference between men and women. So that's number one. So anybody who's using, low vibrational and toxic and makes it about gender, you let them know. The SPANE, the scale of positive and negative experience, stated that there's no significant difference between men and women in their emotional vibrational output. Okay. Second, it was testing frequency, not as much the intensity of the frequency. Okay. We also have to remember that some people are a little more sensitive. So it's hard to measure the intensity of the output because the intensity of the output is more measured by the receiver, and every receiver has different levels of sensitivity to that. Dr. T. Hassan Johnson says, do they use a device to measure the SPANE? That's a great question. I'm going to pull up the last article that I had and see if it talks about it. If I'm remembering correctly, the original SPANE study did not use any kind of biomagnetic, electrical, but subsequent ones did to try to validate it. So this one was in June 2024 to validate it. Let me see what they used. Where's the method? All right. I'm probably boring you guys. I'm sorry. But I want to be able to. Okay, I'm going to have to go through all the methods. This one did a ton. That was the one that talked about authenticity being the emotion that's actually the most high vibrational, or most considered the most pleasant. Okay. So, instead of love, right? New Age spirituality has always been about love and light, and love is the highest vibration. And the way to vibrate at your highest as a human is to love everyone, right? But then this particular study said it's authenticity, it's feeling authentic. Okay. All right. Oh, Prince Mugo, Dr. Hadia Nicole Green utilized frequency to treat or cure cancer. So check that out. It's super interesting stuff. right? There's a whole body of research on using frequencies to treat different conditions. And we all sort of inherently know that, right? Again, like I talked about with the music, and music affects our emotions, it can make us feel down, it can make us feel up, certain sounds. Think about when a baby laughs, guys. Doesn't that just you have a physical and emotional reaction to a baby laughing. You know what I mean? So those sound is frequency, right? It's waves that come into our ears. Sight is energy waves that come into our eyes. So, yeah. Um, Ian Graves said the mode of regulation is different based on gender. Yes. Yes. There are differences. There's not a significant difference. Like it didn't say that like women are super duper emotional and men are as logical as Spock, right? Like there's not a significant difference, but there are differences, right? Okay. Yeah, different moods. Okay. Um Third, on the SPANE scale, right? New Age has always believed love, right? That's what I was saying was the highest frequency. Studies have shown authenticity to be the highest level of frequency to be emitted from the human body. This came from research that added domains to the SPANE. So that was that one I was talking about. Authenticity or alignment with true self or living in your purpose, right? All those are the same things, has positive effects, right? It has positive effects on our life. And so we assume or we label that high vibrational, right? We are physically, mentally, and emotionally have benefits when we are authentic and we're, aligned with our true selves as much as we can. There are positive effects, right? It's because it reduces that inner conflict, right? So, like I had said, the biggest conflict that we always have is the conflict between the life we're living and the life we're avoiding. So, if we are being authentic, if we are doing everything that we can towards our purpose or living in line with our value system, that's going to reduce inner conflict, right? We get this increased feeling state of well-being, a lower stress, we get a higher self-image, right? I'm authentic. I've accepted myself for who I am. Everything right and everything I got to work on, which is fine. If I didn't have anything to work on, I don't know that I was human. Less fear, guilt, and shame, more honest and genuine relationships, right? Oh, Adric just put my cash app in the chat. You guys know I always forget to check this. I always forget. So let me know. Okay. So now we get to the problem. Okay. Now we're really in the problem. If there is too much difference in the frequency of two people, kind of like how people vibrate at a certain megahertz and the microwave vibrates at a certain hertz, it can be damaging, right? So if there's too much difference in the frequency of two people, they can affect each other negatively. Okay? I mean, think about this. If your megahertz is a little low, right? Because you've worked all day and you're tired and your feet hurt and um your boss was being snippy and it's only Tuesday. There's multiple days to the weekend, or you're on mandatory OT and you don't have a day off coming, and you're just tired and then somebody's buzzing way up here, let's go hike a mountain, and they're singing and they're dancing and they're blah, blah, blah. That can cause annoyance, right? So and that's oversimplifying that concept, but if there's way too much of a difference, if you guys just are not on the same plane, you can affect each other negatively, right? And it's not just that, like, for the person who's exhausted, it's really annoying that this person's blah, 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 blah. But for this person as well, they're excited, they're happy, they're energetic, they want to do stuff, they want to spend time, they want to, and then they can be sort of brought down because the person doesn't feel like doing anything and is tired or might be snippy because you're being too much. I mean, think about people who like sing and dance first thing in the morning and how annoying that can be. Side note, the singing and dancing in the morning is me, but I try not to be annoying to people. All right. So, effect needs to be incremental. Okay. So, like, okay, UV rays. UV rays vibrate, and they have these long waves in their frequency. Okay. UV rays come from the sun. All right. Big, fast exposure can cause cancer, right? Like you've been in your house all winter long, and then all of a sudden it's 85 degrees out, full sun, UV warning, and you go outside in your swimsuit and you have no protection, be that biologically you already have some protection for your skin, or you didn't put on any sunscreen, or um, you can it can cause cancer, right? It can burn them, right? So people's skin can burn, and it can make you sick. So I'm pretty pale. So when I get out in the sun and I get a sunburn and things like that, I will actually get ill. But it's a form of radiation poisoning, right? I'm too pale to be in the middle of the summer out in the direct sunlight without any protection. But if you go into the sunshine for periods of time, it has huge health benefits. Like we as human beings, the sun is where we get vitamin D from. One of these days, I'm going to look at where do they extract vitamin D from to make supplements, because the way we humans get vitamin D is from the sun, right? So there are huge health benefits, right? And that's just one. That's just one. Being in the sunshine and the fresh air has huge health benefits. By the way, Dr. Johnson, I don't want you to think that I forgot afterwards. I'm going to pull this research up and then I'm going to put it in the regular chat. And I may just link the study so that we've got it. Everybody's got it. Okay. So authenticity is kind of the same way as the sunshine, a little bit. Like being authentic can actually offend other people and make them sick. Now, ain't that a bear? You know what I mean? Like we're supposed to be authentic. This is what we're supposed to be moving towards. This is, this is how we vibrate high, and this is the energy output that we have. But you guys know that when you're really authentic, it can be offensive. And I'm not saying that you're being offensive. It can be perceived as offensive. Okay. So having a different belief system can feel like a threat. Now, remember, being authentic, I've aligned my values with my life. So my belief system may not be the same as your belief system, right? And I'm being authentic about my belief system. And then other people feel threatened by it, right? It's a little bit like the I love dogs, why do you hate cats thing, If I'm out there going, I love Buddha, then somebody's going to be like, why do you hate Jesus? So being authentic can sometimes be offensive or perceived as offensive. Okay. Misunderstanding a person's authentic expression can lead to anger and annoyance, right? If I'm being authentic to myself, it doesn't mean I'm being blunt or rude, because some people are like, I'm just honest and you hate it. Well, also the way you say things is kind of mean. Um, but it can lead to anger and annoyance if what the authentic person is doing doesn't align with what I want, right? I could go to a pool party and I'm there and, people around me are having a good time. And I just decide I'm not eating any of the food here. I don't know who these people are, so I'm not eating the food that they made. Um, and it's super sunny and I'm hot and I've got stuff to do at home. So I just say, hey guys, I'm going to head out. I'm going to go. Right. Other people can get irritated by that. Right? No, stay. We want you here. We're having a good. If I'm authentic, this is how I feel, and these are the things I want to do, then that's what I'm going to do. Right? But other people can take offense to it. Personal insecurities can be triggered by somebody who is authentic. Right? Like, this is my value system. This is how I align my life with my value system. This is me being authentic. There is confidence in that, right? There's self-assuredness in that. So if other people have insecurities, then it can trigger their insecure. Just your state of confidence can trigger their insecurities. And at the end of the day, authenticity rarely follows all social norms or customs, right? Um, unless it's like really warranted, you know what I mean? We have to be mindful of our words, right? But if we're being authentic, sometimes it doesn't line up with the thought of the day on social media, right? It could be highly likely that someone who has not reached a state of authenticity on their journey to perceive others' authenticity as mean, rude, uncaring, or low vibrational. So here's yet another thing. If somebody calls you low vibrational, is it that you're low vibrational, or wherever you are in your journey is just not compatible with the energy of where they are in their journey? So because it feels bad, they're taking it as an unpleasant experience and you're the one putting it out, right? But it's more about their perception and not about the energy that's coming out of the authentic person. Okay? Unfortunately, the response to authenticity could be guilt, shame, annoyance, feeling self-conscious, which does lower their vibration. But again, that's on them. If they were to fully accept the authentic you and like the authentic you, then it would actually raise their vibration. You see what I'm saying? For the most part, we can only control our frequency, our energy, our vibe, our environment, and the way others perceive us is on them. Like we can't necessarily fix that, or where someone is on their journey. How close are they to authenticity? How far away are they from authenticity? Do they have stuff that's lowering their vibration? Do they have a lot of stuff they're dealing with? One's not better than the other. This journey of life has lots of ups and downs, right? Like, we are not all the Dalai Lama, and even the Dalai Lama is not like the Dalai Lama. Okay. Hopefully you guys all knew that. So that right there is kind of the toxic conversation. Okay. What is toxic to one person may be perfectly healthy for another person, right? We've all been around people who, for whatever reason, they just pull the worst out of us, you know? Or we've been around people who just act like a turd, and everybody's like, I don't know why they're acting like that normally. They're just very, very kind and sweet. And some of us just are toxic because we're at a different place in the journey. We're at a different frequency or a different vibration, or something's just different and it's not really compatible. That's what toxic is. Whatever you've got going on, when we're together, it doesn't bring out the best in me. Like, it affects me in a negative way. Like, it is unpleasant. And then I do things, right? So then it behooves me to figure that out, right? My responsibility for my internal states, right? I am responsible for my internal states. You may cause something. I'm responsible for my internal states. So when somebody calls you toxic, it reminds me of a phrase that I used to hear growing up. And I don't remember exactly who said it. Nina will tell me if it was my grandmother or grandpa on that side. But it was something akin to my spirit irritates your demons. So, could have something to do with shadow. You know what I mean? Like my inner child, or my ascended self and your shadow just want to fight each other all the time, or vice versa. Like, my shadow always wants to come out and fight you. And so it's just being at a different space. Okay. Oh, okay. There's my grandfather, which makes sense. He was the metaphysician. So he was the metaphysics guy. So, um, but that's what toxic is. But people use it as poisonous, right? Like, that person is toxic. And what their meaning is that that person is poisonous. And that's not really what that means. If somebody is toxic to a person, um, it has to do with how they are responding to that person. Makes sense? It's the same way with, like, triggered, which is another, like, tropey word that gets thrown around. But um, if you are triggered by somebody, then it's your responsibility to figure out why you're triggered. We don't necessarily deflect and project and say that person's poisonous. Okay. Could be that we got something to work on. And since we're all human, we all have stuff to work on, right? Like, everybody does. Nobody had a perfect childhood. Nobody's had, the perfect relationship and the perfect health, and never struggled for money, and never had, like, come on. Hi, Scorpion Black. Thank you for being in here. Yeah, what seems real isn't real, Prince Mogar says. Yeah. Yeah. It's real to me, right? So if I feel like somebody is toxic to me, I am going to back away and evaluate. You know what I mean? Like, why am I responding this way? Why do I have these feelings? And what does it mean that I have these feelings? And what do I need to do with these feelings or not do with these feelings? Like, I have to assess and evaluate because I'm responsible for my internal states. If, I do that and I'm like, oh, well, they do this thing that reminds me of this person who did this bad stuff to me. We'll say that, right? Because a lot of times in relationships, we make our new partners take on our previous traumas, which is really, 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 really unfair. So, you have this particular behavior that reminds me of somebody who did bad stuff to me. And so stop it. Right? It's like, well, maybe that person's had that behavior forever and it's nothing, right? It's the way they curl their lip or, the way they eat meatloaf or the way they fold their shirt or, something really innocuous. But we expect them to change rather than the person who was previously traumatized. Let's work on that. Let's try to figure out how to handle our previous trauma and the stuff we've been through and not be triggered by that. Let's learn how to get over it. Obviously you love this person that you're with, this person you want to be with. So let's get over the past, right? Let's do that. Okay. I think I got one last slide because we're going to talk about Hawkins. Oh, no, a little more. Oh, this is when I was talking about the sunshine and I forgot to put this one up, but look how cute. Being authentically you. Isn't that cute? Wouldn't it be nice if we could all just be super authentic like children? Because, they don't have that ego. They don't feel the need to, be the smartest person in the room or prove everybody wrong or be confrontational or, beat everybody out for the promotion at work. And you know what I mean? Like, we're just blowing bubbles and being silly with sunglasses on and putting sand dollars on our eyeballs to look like a monster. It's just cute. I think life would be a lot more fun if we could just have fun and be authentic, right? Okay. So at least I got to tell that. Okay. Hawkins Map of Consciousness. Okay. So the Hawkins Map of Consciousness. Now it says energetic log. I will say, if anybody's curious, I don't know how they tested that. I've just seen the Hawkins Map of Consciousness many times. I do like it. I'm not sure how perfectly it lines up with research, though, so take it with a grain. But this is something that's been around for a long time. Okay. And that kind of wraps up the metaphysical side of the discussion anyway. So if you look at it, it's kind of similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which has like survival stuff, basic physiological needs at the very bottom, and at the top it has something called self-actualization, which I guess could be similar to enlightenment, right? But it is actually really similar to authenticity, self-actualizing, being actually and authentically me, is the acceptance that you were all you could be then, you are all you can be now, and you're growing and getting toward your potential, and you will be all you can be at that time. Like, it's like when people say they did the best they could with what they had to work with, right? All humans are that way, right? We do the best that we can with what we have to work with at any given time. Maybe we don't have all the information, or we were taught wrong, or somebody told us something, or we're modeling behavior that we learned, we're doing the best we can with what we've got, right? Make it work. So authenticity is like realizing you're fine exactly as you are, a human, and humans have flaws, right? And it's good to grow and get better, and you're still going to be fine. Right? Like, all humans have flaws. So how could flaws be bad? You know what I mean? It's like, and please don't put in exceptions, because I know there's exceptions, but it's like saying toes are bad, right? Like, all humans are born with toes. So why do we say it's bad? It shouldn't have a judgment to it. It either works or it doesn't work. It's either authentic or it's not authentic. But having flaws is just human. Okay. All right. Hawkins scale. Let's get back to that. Hawkins shows low energy in the survival paradigm, which paradigm means worldview, like how you look at the world. Okay. And so somebody in the survival paradigm looks at the world as trying to survive. Okay. So it moves up into this view of the world as like based on reason and integrity, right? It culminates in the spiritual paradigm. Like the view of the world is sort of like this, like saying, I'm not a person having a spiritual experience. I'm a spirit having a human experience. It's kind of that the difference there. All right. So there's names. So each level has a name. You can see on the left-hand side, the top is enlightenment, goes all the way down to shame. Now those are names, and some of those are feelings, but that's just the name of the level. Okay. They have their corresponding energy log, which at some point I'll look into how do they get these numbers. Okay. The base emotion state of that particular level, like what's the overarching or most common emotion that the person feels in that when they are in that level. Okay. What else? Their view of life, right? Life is blah. So somebody who's in the anger level, their predominant emotional state is just hating stuff, just hating everything. I hate it. Their view of life is that life is antagonistic, like life is effing with me. Life keeps messing with me. Their view of God is that God is vengeful, right? And the process that they're in is just aggression, like external attacks. Again, if you feel like life is antagonistic, you feel like life and God are messing with you, of course you're going to feel a little aggressive, right? Or like if you're in the acceptance level, okay? So your predominant emotional state is like forgiveness, just accepting people, forgiving all the bad stuff to move on. Your view of life is that it has ups and downs and it's harmonious. Your view of God is that God is merciful, and the process that you're in is trying to transcend, like trying to get past stuff, trying to move beyond where you've been, rise above, right? That's what transcendence means. Okay. Now what it has is that red line that's in the middle, you see, between courage and pride. What that is, according to Hawkins, is that anybody under that red line who's going through that energetic level feels like there's a force on them, like they have the weight of the world, like they feel a force, like they're being forced down. People above that red line feel empowered, lighter. Okay. One's not better than the other. We all got to go through those things. And even though you may move up into a specific level where life seems grand, anything in any moment can happen to, and you would be in a different level. Okay. All right. So the lower vibrations are so stuck under the weight of the force that they're practically immobile, right? So that energetic log, right? Like it's, think about the lower the vibration, the more solid something is. So this is like walking through molasses. Now, it seems mean, spiteful, rude to call people who are going through it. You know, you're in the grief level, you're in the guilt level, you're going through it. You're feeling despair, you're feeling humiliation, hopeless. You feel like God is condemning you or that God hates you, like you are going through it. It seems kind of mean to call those people toxic and low vibrational, doesn't it? So if you really thought somebody was low vibrational, it would be mean to call them that, right? It's kind of like if you thought somebody had a lowered IQ, they were like intellectually disabled, um, and then you didn't like what they had to say, and so you called them a retard. Like, that's kind of what this is like. So these people are going through it. They're having a rough time, and that orange and red, people are, it's hard. It's hard. They're going through some bad stuff. And then you want to come in and call them low vibrational and toxic when this is what's happening when you're low vibrational, right? Like I said, you can be sick, depressed, have a bad day. I mean, think about those stages. It's mean, right? So let's talk about the takeaway. We are more than an hour in. So let's talk about the takeaway about toxic and low vibrational. Oh, first, Ian, how does the mind interrelate to the stability or at adaptation ability of one in a given circumstance over time? Does the mind have the ability to act as an off switch or dimmer for frequency? I think the thing is that we as humans can build up resistances to a lot of things, right? The resistance that we have or our resilience that we have, our ability to recover from stuff, um, it's not necessarily like a shield or an off switch for other frequencies. It's more like as we build those up, we can create a tolerance for certain things. We're quick to recover. We're not as affected because we understand the process of what's going on, right? When I'm around someone who's very angry and saying things that are, very instigating or very troublesome, I may feel little twinges of things, but I understand why I'm feeling that, or I try to, and not be so quick to respond. So it's like it increases your tolerance, right? Hi, cynical optimist. Thanks for coming in. All right, so here's the takeaway, okay, from somebody calling you toxic and high or low vibrational, right? Anyone who is high vibrational would not call someone else toxic and low vibrational, like just at the end of the day, right? Because that means they're placing themselves as superior. That means they're degrading people who are going through it, right? If they really are vibrating low, then they're going through it. So it's degrading people. Anybody high vibrational wouldn't be weaponizing terms to harm somebody else. Okay. So that wouldn't fly. Anybody who's high vibrational wouldn't say that to somebody else. All right. Frequencies can be used for healing purposes. Okay. Hopefully you all go look up that doctor in the chat. Replay gang, go look at the live chat and get that doctor's name. Okay. Being authentically you, right? Honestly, truthfully, and without ego is this highest vibration, right? It's got to be with purpose. You want it with purpose, right? Now, whether that high vibration is like spiritually speaking or measured in a frequency, if we equate authenticity to enlightenment, self-actualization, living in your purpose, like, are these all the same words for the same thing? Then there's agreement that that's sort of living in this highest vibration. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully you now have, I'm going to remove this. Okay. So hopefully you now have things to say to people when they want to call you toxic or low vibration. Okay. hopefully you have that response. All right. So this coming Wednesday for Shadow Work Wednesday, which is going to be renamed as soon as we finish level 2. So what's coming up for Shadow Work Wednesday is I want to, but I can't. So we're going to talk about Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative, right? So this is a way to sort of evaluate our personal moral ethos. Okay. Next Sunday, get through my notes, is going to be Your God is an Egregore. It's a little clickbaity. We're going to talk about what actually is an egregore and how it relates to the collective unconscious, some recent research out of quantum physics and quantum wave theory, and how it goes into the brain. We're going to get into Mandela effects and lots of like fun stuff, right? Hacking your unconscious, kind of neat stuff. We may get into the Book of Enoch, the Watcher, like it's all going to be up here, but it should be fun. So, that's the egregore. And I think the Wednesday after that, nope, I haven't planned that one yet. Okay. So, because that's when we're renaming and kind of redirecting. All right. So I hope everybody has an amazing rest of your Sunday. If I don't see you Wednesday, I hope I see you guys next Sunday. Bye.